Part 28. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 272. 27.1 is too cautious. Surabaya City. Backyard of Spirit Girl Pavilion. No, Jongda, who was sitting drinking tea, frowned suddenly. Master, what's wrong? Gzilo hurried up to ask. He was the first time he saw Master showing such a panic expression. Zhao Lei failed. Ah, Gzilo was very surprised. His brother's strength was very clear. Even if he tried to kill the real person in Zuji, it would not be too strenuous. How could he fail to deal with a gas refining 7th floor? This is incredible. The boy has wiped out a ray of my consciousness left in his 2 instruments, and I can no longer monitor his direction. Where's that brother? Gzilo asked. It is estimated that it is already more ferocious and less fertile, Jongda sighed. Generally, there is only a dead end to killing treasures. He also said, I think this kid must come back to get us revenge. Gzilo laughed. It came just right. Even if your brother can't beat him, you can just clean up him. Regarding the master's practice, even ordinary ancestors of Jadan are not your opponents. But Jongda didn't think so. He shook his head and said, looking at the direction of his return, Yun Fuzong is where, as a teacher, he would be afraid that the black boy would come back to the mountain to call people. If the enemy Cao Guang found it? Gzilo said, no way. If you are not afraid of 10,000, you are afraid of anything. Jongda thought of his enemy Cao Guang, and he couldn't help but be afraid, thinking for a moment, no. Be careful to make the ship for 10 years, let's avoid it for the moment. No, Gzilo's heart was depressed for a while, and Lao Tzu was looking forward to getting Mo Pi skin. Master, you are too cautious. Although he was full of complaints, he did not dare to run against Master and rush to pack things. Yekong spent a little time, annihilating a ray of consciousness on the 2 instruments, then took off his sword and flew straight into Surabaya City. Thinking that he had gone to the Bai family with a trace of Jongda's consciousness, Yekong was afraid that the disaster would be repeated again, so he went to Dongju Street first. At this moment, the moon was just on the branch, and time had just fallen into the night. There is no entertainment in the Kangnan mainland at night, so everyone sleeps early, but Bai Jie cannot sleep so early. She is busy in the store during the day and has little time to do her work, so she only uses the evening time to drive out the custom-made clothes of the customers. White girl is not afraid. This is the repair. Yekong had a wall break through it, penetrating from the roof, just dropped at the door, blocking Bai Jie's way. It's Li Xianxia. Bai Jie thought that the bad guy was bad, and when she saw Yekong, she felt loose. Li Xianxia, how long have you been here? Bai Jie asked tentatively. Just arrived. Moon viewing. Surabaya City. Backyard of Spirit Girl Pavilion. No, Jongda, who was sitting drinking tea, frowned suddenly. Master, what's wrong? Gzilo hurried up to ask. He was the first time he saw Master showing such a panic expression. Zhao Lei failed. Ah, Gzilo was very surprised. His brother's strength was very clear. Even if he tried to kill the real person in Zuji, he would not be too strenuous. How could he fail to deal with a 7-layer gas refinery? This is incredible. The boy has wiped out a ray of my consciousness left in his 2 instruments, and I can no longer monitor his direction. Where's that brother? Gzilo asked. It is estimated that it is already more ferocious and less fertile, Jongda sighed. Generally, there is only a dead end to killing treasures. He also said, I think this kid must come back to get us revenge. Gzilo laughed. It came just right. Even if your brother can't beat him, you can just clean up him. Regarding the master's practice, even ordinary ancestors of Jadan are not your opponents. But Jongda didn't think so. He shook his head and said, looking at the direction of his return, Yun Fuzong is where, as a teacher, he would be afraid that the black boy would come back to the mountain to call people. If the enemy Xiao Guang found it? Ji Zilo said, no way. If you are not afraid of 10,000, you are afraid of anything. Zhang De thought of his enemy Xiao Guang, and he couldn't help but be afraid, thinking for a moment, no. Be careful to make the ship for 10 years, let's avoid it for the moment. No. Ji Zilo's heart was depressed for a while, and Lao Tzu was looking forward to getting Mo Pi skin. Master, you are too cautious. Although he was full of complaints, he did not dare to run against Master and rushed to pack things. Ye Kong spent a little time, annihilating a ray of consciousness on the two instruments, then took off his sword and flew straight into Surabaya city. Thinking that he had gone to the Bai family with a trace of Zhangda's consciousness, Ye Kong was afraid that the disaster would be repeated again, so he went to Dongju Street first. At this moment, the moon was just on the branch, and time had just fallen into the night. There is no entertainment in the Kangnan mainland at night, so everyone sleeps early, but Bai Jie cannot sleep so early. She is busy in the store during the day and has little time to do her work, so she only uses the evening time to drive out the custom-made clothes of the customers. White girl is not afraid. This is the repair. Ye Kong had a wall break through it, penetrating from the roof, just dropped at the door, blocking Bai Jie's way. It's Li Xianxia. Bai Jie thought that the bad guy was bad, and when she saw Ye Kong, she felt loose. Li Xianxia, how long have you been here? Bai Jie asked tentatively. Just arrived. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Jian Yi. Chapter 273. 272 Different. Just arrived. Bai Jie felt a little relieved. It seemed that the immortal master hadn't seen it. It really scared people to death. She couldn't help but shouted, why Li Xianxia, why don't you come in and stand on the roof? In fact, this hobby has a hobby, that is, watching the moon on the roof, how fresh the air is on the roof, how bright the moonlight is, and watching the moon, holding one's hands so wet, really a great thing in life. Your hobby is special enough, but why don't you choose another roof? Why on the roof of a woman's bedroom? Bai Jie didn't believe it, and asked, Li Xianxia, do you sing a poem today? Li Xianxia, you are a good person. Ye Kong fainted, and this issued a nice card to Lao Tzu. White girl, you are also a good person. Sending a good card. Who won't? We will give you one. However, Ye Kong is not authentic, and he deliberately accentuated the word good, so shameless that Bai Jie's face could not be lifted. Li Xianxia, since you have all seen it, don't make fun of the slave family. The slave family knows that this is not good, it will never be done again. Bai Jie's voice grew louder and smaller, and finally he couldn't hear it. Thinking about it this way, a hooligan quickly relieved, white girl, in fact, this is not a bad thing, cough, occasionally, it is good for physical and mental health. According to research by scientists, as long as it is not too frequent, it is beneficial. Bai Jie listened to Ye Kong's words, and her mind was a little firm. She was still afraid that Li Xianxia was not a good person. Who knew that everyone had said that this was a good thing? But this man named scientist is really unproductive. What do you say? He researched. Except for the inner clothing of the woman's house, that is where the woman's house is, he has nothing else to study. Seeing Bai Jie's face changing, Ye Kong was still afraid of her unbelief, and he dedicated himself and said, don't say it's white girl. This is Xiu. I used to do this kind of thing before. Bai Jie finally looked up, looked at Ye Kong, said in her heart, dare to love the fairy to do such boring things. Ye Kong was so embarrassed by her that she scolded herself cheaply. But when I said it, I couldn't take it back, so I blushed and said, well, that's right. So you don't have to blame the white girl, the cultivator is not exempt, let alone you. Of course, this is your own repair. The way of comfort is a little different from yours. Oh, Baiji looked at Yekong with the eyes of a curious baby. Yekong grinned, this repair is that all 5 fingers are hard. White girl only needs to move 1 finger. Li Xianxia. Baiji's face was red and he was ashamed. Yekong laughed and left. If it weren't for Lao Tzu's incident tonight, I would like to communicate with you and communicate with each other so as to avoid less detours. Everyone can improve at the same time and reach the state of fire and purity at an early date. In the self-consolation way become a grand master. Yekong is very happy, but Dao is depressed. Why is the sun so happy? What they were talking about just now seems to be a puzzle, it's hard to understand. When Yekong came to the Ling Envy Pavilion, he found out that Zhangda's old guy had escaped in advance, and the courtyard was empty. I didn't expect this old guy to be cautious to such an extent, it really is a gangster, and I hope you won't be hit by me in the future. Yekong didn't find anyone, and returned, but before leaving, he took out a bone shield method the device, when it became larger, smashed it and smashed the old guy's small yard. The movement was a little bit big, scaring those who squirmed on the body of the Ling Nu Jade in the Ling Nu Pavilion to death, thinking that there was an earthquake, and the pants ran out before they could wear it. It's really morally corrupt, alas, I didn't expect that fruit can also be popular in the Kangnan continent. After Yekong's bad work was done, he stepped on Fijian and went to Yunfuzong. On the way back, he suddenly felt that his cultivation had improved a lot. The 7th layer of gas refining was almost full, and it was close to the peak of the 7th layer of gas refining. Yekong recalled it, it seemed that he had realized the rhythmic chop of Yingwu, so that Jiu was greatly improved. Just before the 7 layers of refining gas just rose, how long will it take to rise again, and the 5 elements ascension of the Immortal Sutra is not so difficult. Yekong is obviously a hungry man, but he is hungry and hungry. The practice of ascending the 5 elements is much slower than other exercises. He rises so fast because of his adventures, Yingwu, Lingquan, and Ling Yaoshan. How many people can be as lucky as him with the highest quality elixir? Yekong returned to Yunfuzong, it was already late at night. Although the monks do not need to sleep, they still adhere to the tradition of sunrise and sunset. If nothing is wrong, everyone will go to the house to practice at night. As for strolling on the street, the boring things like rolling the road are basically not done. But today it was strange. When Yekong returned to Yunfuzong, he saw a lot of disciples in the gas cultivation period on the hills and roofs, looking up in one direction of zone, his eyes were full of complexity. Look. This brother, I don't know what happened in zone. Yekong quickly went to find a fat brother and asked. What happened in the case? I haven't heard of it. Then what are you looking at here? I don't see anything. Yekong looked in that direction, except the sky is the sky. He was a fairy, did he just pass by? Fat Dao laughed, I'm sure you just came back and didn't see it. I tell you, a vision was born just now. Everyone said that it was brother Cao Junfan who built the foundation. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Jian. Chapter 274. 2 or 3 strong disciples. Oh, Yekong nodded, and the ascension of each level can cause chaos in the surrounding aura, which is a natural vision. However, the breakthrough has entered the foundation period, and this vision will not be exaggerated. It is a burst of colorful Xianxia rising, and then everyone feels aura of chaos, and it is over. When he lived in Ling Yaoshan, he had seen that it was not uncommon for monks to build foundations, so there was no need to look around. This fellow, you do nt have to go out to watch the rare and ordinary things like Zuji, isn't it? You can't figure it out, said the fat monk scornfully. Everyone else builds a base, but everybody looks at it, but this is brother Cao Junfan. He has built a base successfully. We are going to call him uncle. Brother Cao Junfan? Is he famous? I haven't heard of it. Yekong said this, immediately feeling the back of his back hot. Looking back, a lot of female disciples were glaring at themselves. No, I just said one thing I haven't heard of, you guys just look at me like that. Brother Cao Junfan doesn't know. The fat man could not help but despise the dark-faced guy, and then said, Brother Cao Junfan is the most powerful disciple of the current generation. He started practicing at the age of 15. It's been 5 years. How fast? And this time, only one Zujidan was built, and it was a one-time success. The fat man said that he was so excited that the old was here, and he immediately received the approval of the disciples around him, especially those female disciples, who looked at them with much softer eyes. But Yekong was upset. Who is Cao Junfan, and I do nt know where the Birdman emerges. 5 years to build the foundation, I am at most 3 years older than you. Huh, have you beat me? Build a foundation to make such a big movement. If you make a baby, then all the Kangnan will be watching? Brother Cao Junfan is not only excellent in spiritual roots, but also very fast in cultivation. His looks are also extraordinary. The fat man's admiration was mixed with a lot of jealousy. Yekong shook his head and said, Brother, I see that you are tall and rich, with big ears and extraordinary demeanor. They are much stronger than those oily noodles. The fat man was shocked. Is it? Is there really such a handsome younger brother? Why aren't there any sisters paying attention to me? Handsome. One word is handsome, I only say it once. No one pays attention because the women are too superficial. Listening to Yekong's words, all the young girl disciples in the neighborhood have a killing heart. This blackbird, speaking so annoyingly, insults our hearts. The idols don't say, and now we say in person that we are superficial. Grandpa can bear it, uncle can't bear it. The fat man laughed like a flower. No one said that he was handsome when he was so big. Although he knew that the other party was a bit exaggerated, he was still very happy, so he also said eloquently, Master, I think you are also handsome, it's just that you are young and handsome, romantic. I am ashamed. How can there be? Brothers have won prizes, I'm not as handsome as you. Hey, brother, you are more handsome. The two touted each other, and finally someone had an opinion on these two shameless men, and they really couldn't stand it anymore. Well, it's really amazing this year. A pig and a black bear are more handsome than each other. It's so funny. They even compare with our brother Cao Junfan and don't know if they want to be shameless. The aged woman in the yellow shirt is very handsome, but her words are mean. Yekong gave her a slanted look and said to himself, it's true that there are so many wonders this year. In the middle of the night, a yellow-haired duck quacked out. It's a disturbing dream. The monk in yellow suddenly became angry, and said angrily, you black man, you can't see your face at night. Yekong laughed, what do men have to be so white? Black dots are healthy, black dots are natural. Do you have a yellow hair, girl? Don't look at your face protein, in some places, it's the same black. Yekong's words were so shameless, the male monks laughed in a coax around him, and the eyes of the thieves all converged to some mysterious place. The girl in the yellow dress pinched her legs in fright, her face flushed, her eye swelled quickly, and pointed at Yekondeo, which master's disciple are you? What's your name? Actually teasing the female disciple, you are impatient. Everyone immediately sweated for this brave man. It was not a trivial charge to tease a female disciple in public. But Yekong still smiled, sister, don't you believe in sex? When will I tease you? Don't think that your inner disciples can just bully our outer disciples. You just said don't look at my face protein, it's as dark as everywhere else, the lady in yellow dress pointed at Yekong. The kid wants to hang on, no way. Yeah, what a joke. I said your hair and eyes are as dark as mine. Am I wrong? Yekong looked innocently at the men behind him, and all the men shook their heads to show Ye nothing is wrong. Immediately Yekong turned back and said, Sister, you wouldn't think of going there, right? I don't really mean that. I don't have such a shy mind. The nun in the yellow suit is about to vomit blood. He clearly means that, but now he is completely ashamed, as if his mind was impure. Hey! I'll fight with you, the female in yellow dress wanted to do something as soon as she took a storage bag. However, a fiery figure came out of the nun's camp, and quickly grabbed the nun in the yellow dress and said, Sister, forget, this black egg has a terrible mouth, you are not his opponent. It was Zhang Weihai who hadn't seen him for almost a month. She had seen Huang Shimei and Yekong quarreling, thinking, just to let this black egg suffer. But I didn't expect that Huang Shimei, who was sharp and toothy, was not his opponent. Seeing that she had to change from a tongue fight to a big fight, she came out to block it. After all, this one is a close friend, and the other was introduced by himself, which is really difficult. I can't say, but I've beaten him. I want him to find his teeth all over the place. Although Zhang Weihai came out to persuade him, Sister Huang still refused, and muttered, dare to say Brother Junfan's bad words, look at me, don't strangle you. Although the Sister Huang was so eager to get rid of black eggs, Zhang Weihai had a way to make two sentences in the ears of Sister Huang. Then the expression of Sister Huang looking at Yekong changed. She despised, and she was still afraid. Huh, it's all BT, the girl in yellow clothes ran away as soon as she stomped. Hey, don't run, you can make it clear, when I'm teasing you, don't discredit my reputation in public. My Lihizi is like a green onion mixed with tofu, innocent, a hooligan shouted indignantly behind. Okay, don't have to sell cheaply. Zhang Weihai walked over, pulling Ye's arms out of the air, and pulling him to the side of no one. Then he said, Dark egg, you don't even know about girls, you re more polite, Sister Huang Zixuan. I wanted to introduce you to me. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Jian Yi. Chapter 275. 274 Yellow Women. Yekong quickly interrupted, don't introduce, I told you, I have 2 wives, and a fellow who is going to repair together. I don't need a woman. Zhang Weihai gave him a white look, cut, a man is not allowed to have only 1 priest. How many kin can a man have? Yekong was about to vomit blood. It was so happy. The Kangnan continent is okay. For the first time, I felt that the Kangnan continent was a man's paradise. Not only can there be several mortal wives, but also a few accomplices. But that won't work. Sister Huang is thinking about Cao Junfan, I don't want to be a green hat. Zhang Weihai laughed and laughed, Dark egg, you still want to be beautiful, I am playing with you, everyone Huang Shimei is as consummate as I am. How can I look at your 6 layers of gas, no, 7 floors. Only then did Zhang Weihai find out that Yekong had already risen into the late stage of gas refining. The 7th and 8th floors are all called later stages. The last time I saw him was the 6th floor of gas refining. Did he remember it wrong? Oh, I was at the top of the 6th floor of gas refining last time. I can break it at any time, so I just broke it a few days ago, Yekong explained. Zhang Weihai suddenly realized, it turned out to be this way. I said that you don't practice such garbage quickly. Yekong was depressed for a while, then you just trashed your qualifications. In 2 months, I will break through again. Of course, Yekong wouldn't say this to her, and asked, what did you say to that Huang Mao just now, why did you leave when you said that? You still look at me with that look. Women's words, you don't care. Zhang Weihai giggled, and it seemed as if he had taken advantage of it. Yekong saw that she looked like she knew it was not a good thing, but Zhang Weihai refused to say that he couldn't help it. What about your brother? It's been a while since I saw him. Yekong secretly stared at the bulging chest wrapped in Zhang Weihai's red jacket, and said, little pepper, or a cow, this smiled and shook so much, if you wear a bra, it may be more eye-catching. Zhang Wei didn't notice Yekong's line of sight, and moved closer, whispered softly, "Tell you, my brother is good." "No, someone will follow him." Yekong looked up in surprise. "Why? You look down on my brother." Zhang Wei raised an eyebrow, and the white eyes stared at the boss. "It's so pretty, and you are so stiff again." If it weren't for Zhang Wulin's younger sister, I would have already started." "No, no, I respect and admire your brother very much. He is the idol of our fourth generation of disciples. I admire him for his limbs." "It's a mess," Yekong quickly said insincerely. Zhang Wei immediately revealed, there was no sincerity at first glance, and 5 limbs were thrown into the ground. People said that 5 bodies were thrown into the ground. It is 5 bodies. There are no limbs. People have only 4 limbs. Yekong smiled shamelessly. Of course women do not have 5th limbs, only men do. Zhang Wei was still unknown at the beginning, but this girl was very clever, blinking her big eyes, and thought that one day she saw a hooligan without clothes, and she did have a limb somewhere. "It's all BT, Zhang Wei blushed, and the red shadow disappeared immediately. "Hey, you haven't said who your brother is getting better with? Also, why do you say the same thing as that Huangmao girl, who are I and BT? Zhang Wei had no intention to talk nonsense with him, and hurried away, rushing in his heart, thinking about the dark place of a hooligan. Well, it's said that half stay and half stay, women are like this. Unhappy, very unhappy. Yekong hummed back to Cao Mooking's small medicine garden. Back to the medicine garden, hurriedly came to his room, and inserted the spirit stone in the array. Afterwards, Yekong sat down cross-legged, and he couldn't wait to see today's gains and spiritual exercises. An immortal is still very fragile. Of course, the body of the immortal is much stronger than the mortal. The so-called fragility here is compared with the demon, the beast, and the refiner. Therefore, defensive tools will be sold so expensively, and only then will people continue to study how to strengthen the spiritual shield. However, regardless of defensive spells or magical instruments, they all have the same disadvantages. They require a lot of energy, and they can't be turned on at any time. Here, we must exclude Machi inner armor. After all, there are not many such instruments. It's different if there is a spiritual weapon refining body. Forging the body is like iron and steel. When you face a strong enemy, you have more hope for life. At the same time, the powerful body can also be used as an attack weapon. Refining may, in some cases, have unexpected results. Therefore, there is no harm in cultivating Lingui refining body. Yekong decided to cultivate this thing. Yekong carefully read the contents of Ling Cambodia, then closed his eyes and meditated. This spiritual martial arts body is a little different from the shadow martial arts that you have cultivated before. Although shadow martial arts is also a method of martial arts, it is closer to the practice of immortality. Although the shadow martial arts is mainly based on moves, the focus is on understanding the laws of heaven. For example, Yekong has realized the rhythm. However, Lingui refining is different. It is pure refining, which exercises the strength of the bones and skin, and uses the aura to forge the flesh. In general, the Reiki in the air cannot be absorbed by the skin and muscles, so many elixir must be used to make a medicinal solution at first, and the body is soaked and transformed with the medicinal solution. The materials needed for this medicinal solution are not difficult to find, and Yekong should take some time to find them. But the most worrying thing about Yekong is that this Yukai stated that after the Dafa refining of Lingui refining body has reached the foundation period, there will be a more painful thing. That is, the limbs and many parts of the body will fester naturally. After festering, these body parts will be reborn, and the reborn part will be tougher. But this festering process is relatively long and painful. Only then did Yekong understand that Zhangda's broken legs were not chopped off by the enemies, or that they naturally festered because of practicing the practice of spiritual martial arts. He was a little regretful. He knew that Zhangda would be found and killed immediately. If he waited for a long time, after Zhang Diliang's martial arts was completed, he would build powerful limbs. It would be difficult for him to kill him. Of course, it is no longer possible to go back to find Zhangda. The key question now is, do you practice this spiritual martial art? After thinking for a while, Yekong decided to practice. Practice at most until the base period temporarily stops. It is better to practice than not practice. The body can be a bit tougher, and the chances of survival are much greater when confronted with a rival. However, he is not in a hurry to practice. After all, he is still mainly based on the 5 elements of ascending the Celestial Sutra, and it is better to step up to the realm first. Because he realized the rhythmic attack, his cultivation has been greatly improved. In his mind, he thought, since there will be improvement from rhythm avoidance to rhythm attack, then I realized that if rhythm attack is also used when crossing with the beauty, can it make the beauty better? Although this realization is shameless, is it still understood? But unfortunately, he didn't feel the improvement of Ziwei this time. Well, forget it, speculation is not enough. It seems that only honest practice is possible. Yekong put Yuchan back into the storage bag and let out the big jade. Daewoo, I'm going to hit the 8th floor of gas refining. You take care of the medicine garden. Daewoo snorted reluctantly and flew out of the array. I knew that I would water me to catch insects. I am a water dragon, not a kettle. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 276. 2-7 and 5 Inferior Higher Order. There is no sun and moon in the mountains. What is said is that for the cultivator, blink of an eye, often meditating, 10 days and a half months, even 3 years and 5 years passed. A month later, in the back room of Yunfuzong's small pharmacy, a black-faced monk in a white shirt was sitting cross-legged, his eyes closed and motionless, as if the old monk was settled, and around his body, there was a faint aura visible to the naked eye. Yekong, who is meditating, has practiced the 7th layer of gas refining to the peak after this month's cultivation. If there is no accident, there will be another 10 days, and he can break through again. Yekong thought about it and rushed to the 8th floor of gas refining, but today is the day of the Ujia commercial auction. He still decided to temporarily stop cultivation and go to the auction to see. High-level spirit beast Dan is always his heart not. It is obviously not a good idea to cultivate with your mind. He promised to do what he had done, and he would always remember if he could do it, so he had to get a high-level spiritual beast first for Daewoo to practice with peace of mind. Yekong stopped absorbing the aura, and the aura surrounding him disappeared immediately. He sent the last trace of refined aura running in the meridians into the sea, and then he smiled contentedly. He felt his strength increase again. For a cultivator, strength is their eternal pursuit. Every time the realm of improvement and strength increases, they will be extremely happy. This kind of comfort, this sense of accomplishment is nothing less than anything else that can bring pleasure. That's why there are so many ascetics. Others think they are suffering. In fact, they do not feel pain at all, but rather enjoy it. Yekong accepted the exercises, but he didn't rush to open his eyes. He sank his spiritual knowledge into Zifu again. Since the last 5 thunder spells of the middle-level magic charm of the lower grade appeared, it's been a long time since the curse collection could open a new page. Yekong wanted to see if the cultivation of the 8th floor of gas refining was about to open a whole new page. Not to mention, this time it can really be turned again. Yekong was overjoyed, nervous with joy. This is a high-end spell. Nothing is sold outside, even Yekong has never seen what the next high-level charm looks like. What will be the first type of this high-end spell? Yekong carefully lifted that page of blue scroll with his spiritual power. opened. Yekong busy gazing at it, and the next high-level spell came to Niu X, and only one spell was drawn on one page. When he saw the name of the first subordinate high-level spell, Yekong couldn't help but won't think that this Taoist priest in Dragon Tiger Mountain was so shameless and indecent that he developed such a despicable spell. Chengxianfu, high-grade magic charm. Subordinate charm. It can instantly make the monks spring, unable to control themselves, lose their will, and eager to please the opposite sex. This charm is colorless and tasteless after casting, and it is the same for mortals, beasts, and monsters. Some have a 50% increase in the intensity of their effects on females. Requires materials: top-grade rune paper, syringa flower juice. To make it, use a charm pen to dip some syringa flower juice. Seeing this, Yekong couldn't help smirking again and again. Hey, who said that the scholars are pure-hearted and want to clean themselves? This is the evidence. This powerful spell is almost 100 times stronger than spring medicine. It works for all monsters and beasts, especially for females. It will enhance the effect. It is too powerful. In the future, if the female prisoner is in the hands of Lao Tzu, hey, then it is no wonder that it is not rare. But what makes Yekong depressed is, what is the syringa flower? He remembered the porcelain sachet taken by Lien Rulan. Is it the stuff there? It seems that this flower is not easy to find. Seeing that a new rune cannot be made, this leaves Yekong glee like a cat, but he can't make it now. Not only the Luoluahua, but even the high-end rune paper, he has not even seen it. As Yekong muttered, he heard Dao's call, "Master, are you okay?" As soon as Yekong's aura spread out, Dao knew that he had lost power, so he hurried to call him. Well, is there something wrong? Yekong opened his eyes, and there was nothing wrong in his heart. Generally speaking, Dao would not be so nervous. He was called without opening his eyes. Dao really has something to do. If Yekong doesn't stop practicing, she will call Yekong. "My son, come to the beast room." Followed by Dao to the spirit beast room, Yekong saw a half-man-high wooden post in the spirit beast room at a glance. Then, what kind of wooden post was it? Its ant nest. To say that the queen's fertility is really strong, a litter is hundreds or thousands, and in a few days it is a litter. In the past 2 months, the gold-winged ants are calculated at least 100,000. I saw countless tiny creatures on the ant nest that drilled east and west, and finally fluttered their wings and flew without a trace. Why are the wings of these gold-winged ants white? Yekong was a little skeptical. If the queen was indeed taken out of the 5 elements array by himself, he doubted that the gold-winged ants were in front of him. "My son, don't care what color their wings are. If you go on like this cave will collapse," Dao said eagerly. Yekong took a closer look. It was really like this. I saw small, dense anthills everywhere in this room. At a glance, the whole room was just like a sieve. In the ant hole, this sentence is really true. If you are 3 or 5 days late, this cave will definitely be too much. His immortal is stupid. I didn't support you to demolish the house. Seeing this dreadful sight, a hooligan finally got angry. He didn't feel bad about the Dongfu, and the Dongfu wasn't his anyway. The key is that if the woman Cao Muking knew, he must grab the golden-winged ant from himself. "Who told you not to give them something to eat?" Dao muttered beside him, reminding Yekong. At the same time, Yekong also guessed why the wings on the back of these gold-winged ants are not golden, because they have no hard things. According to the records of the spirit insects, the gold-winged ants like to eat hard things. The harder they are, the stronger they are when they eat them, and the wings on their backs will shine golden. Poor these hungry golden-winged ants eat lois every day to fill their hunger. How can they produce golden wings? But what can Laozi have for them to grind their teeth? Yekong was depressed for a while, looking at the storage bag. Of those black metal powders collected from the 5 elements, Yekong was naturally reluctant to feed the golden-winged ants. Look at those bone swords, the hardness is limited, it is better to eat lois. If you want to be hard, it's that Jingguanjiao looks hard, but give them to eat with Gubao, is Laozi's brain damaged? No matter what, stop their stupid behavior first. The queen already recognized the master, and the born ants naturally recognized Yekong as the master. As soon as he thought about it, a large number of gold-winged ants flew out of the ants' hole. The ground is like a large cloud, and when I look at it, I feel that the hair on my body is erected. Baby, come in quickly. Yekong quickly opened the spirit beast bag, but was worried in his heart, these hungry guys, wouldn't the Laozi spirit beast bag be carried away? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 277. Encounter the Lockheed Formation. It is very convenient for Yun Fuzong's out-of-court disciples to go out. After leaving the small medicine garden, I came to the mountain gate, made a record, and went out. If it is another disciple, the monk who might be keeping the door might ask about it. But as soon as Yekong went, he didn't need to say anything. The gatekeeper monks muttered to each other, and then looked at with a look of contempt and fear, and everything was easier. Yekong didn't need to listen to them, he guessed that their expression must be related to Cao Mooking, but Yekong didn't care. No one cares about their best, even if they gossip with that woman, they don't suffer. But one thing, Yekong is very strange. This figure of Cao Mooking is still very good. It can be said that there are front and back, coupled with her arrogant temperament, there should be many male practitioners behind her. But why not? Even stranger, why are nuns afraid of her? Yekong decides to find a time to ask Zhang Wei carefully, so that he can't be talked about yet. After Yun Fuzong emerged, it was a sunny morning. The forest was green and there were flowers and birds coming in constantly. In this environment, flying on a sword was very comfortable. My son, you are very happy, are you going to see the white girl soon? Deo said with a sarcasm. This little female dragon knows a lot now, and she even understands such things. Yekong's face was positive, and he said, Deo, this is an adult's business. Don't be at ease with children. Some things are too early to understand, which is bad for your physical and mental health. Deo snorted, and my heart was depressed. I am older than you. Say I am a kid. But having said that, she is not young, but her intelligence is not fully developed, and she is still studying in many places. A lesson learned, Yekong also said, my son is really happy, but not because I want to see the white girl, but because it is very likely that at the auction today, the Millennium Sage will be photographed, which will be a refined high-end beast for you. Dan is short of this lingering herb. At that time, you can also cultivate and become a human form early. That's great, Deo cheered, but then felt embarrassed. The son was thinking for himself, and he still said that. My son, Deo is wrong. It doesn't matter, the child knows that the mistakes must be changed, and the wrongs are changed to be good comrades. When the son and the white girl then and that time, you close your eyes and know, Yekong said earnestly, but in his heart I don't know if Baiji or brought up. Wow, it's been so long in the Kangnan continent, and finally I want to see Nei Yuxio again. Talking with Deu, Yekong has come to Surabaya city. He did not rush into the city with a flying sword, but went to an unmanned place outside the city and changed into ordinary clothes, which was mixed with mortals, and walked into Surabaya city. Senior, are you here in Surabaya city once, do you need a guide? Huashiba diligently gathered up again, but immediately saw Yekong's black face and laughed. It turned out to be Senior Yu. I'm relieved to see you. Yekongki said, you can rest assured when you see me. Where do you start? Huashiba pulled Yekong to the side of the road, and whispered, remember the last refinery workshop that I took you to? Remember, that is the disabled monk. Yekong naturally pretended not to know. Huashiba said, don't you know, the disabled monk and 2 apprentices disappeared one night before the month. I thought it was related to you, and made me worry about you for several days. Now I see you don't worry, it seems that the enemies of the disabled monk came to the door. Oh, I can't think that the monk is so unlucky. Yekong looked sympathetically and asked, then they didn't come back? No, not once. Maybe it has been killed. Yekong reluctantly said, that's it? I wanted to go to him and make some more instruments. Yes, that Master Zhang is really a good hand. A good hand, I will not let you go. Yehalo snorted. After getting news from Huashiba, he no longer has to go to the Lingnu pavilion. After leaving Huashiba, he went directly to the Yi family. At today's auction, Gao Yuanhang and the middle-aged shopkeeper were very busy, and they couldn't afford to greet Yekong. But the guys in the shop knew him, saw him coming, and busily led him to the backyard. In a house in the backyard, 2 monks stood in front of the door. When Yekong passed, he asked Yekong to show the entrance token. Yekong didn't have that thing, but as soon as the guy told the janitor, they let Yekong in. As he entered the door, Yekong noticed that the house was wrapped in a strange formation. Entering the house, you enter the formation. As soon as he went in, Yekong was startled. Because after entering the battlefield, he found that his spiritual power was limited, and his cultivation was reduced. He originally had 7 levels of refining gas, and might have less than 1/3 of his spiritual power. If anyone wants to attack him at this time, he has no ability to resist, then it is really dangerous. Daiyu, what does this mean? Yekong quickly quit the house, unwilling to go inside. The guy laughed, Senior, would you be the first time to participate in the Ujia business auction? In order to prevent someone from disrupting or snatching the goods during the auction, you must be suppressed by this spiritual group to participate in the auction. Don't say you, even if the ancestors of Yuanying want to participate, they must abide by the rules. The man said something. After all, the items at the auction are very valuable, and it is impossible for the Yi family to arrange the ancestors of the ancestors in each semicolon. With this lockup, you don't need to worry about these. Having said that, Yekong couldn't believe it easily. The last time he believed Zhangde, he was ambushed halfway. If this Yujiafang city has a bad heart, you will never know how to die. Yekong refused to enter, and the man only smiled bitterly. Since the seniors are unwilling to abide by the rules of the Yi family, they cannot participate in the auction. In order to participate in an auction to lose his life, this loss-making trade, Yekong was unwilling to do it, ready to leave now. But at this moment, several white monks came to the front yard. There are as many as 10 monks in white. They are male and female, old and young. As for the cultivation, Yekong can't see it. Because the monk's heavenly eye technique can only see that he is in the same realm or lower than himself. If the other party is a few levels higher than you, you can see it, but if the other party is 1 level higher than you can't see it. The 10 monks who came were all 1 level higher than Yekong, and of course he could not see the other side's practice. But Yekong knew who they were. Because the golden clouds draped on the chest of their clothes have clearly stated their identity, they are also Yun Fuzong. The cloud of Yun Fuzong is also said. The larger the cloud on the chest, the more outstanding the status. Xianxia is also a cloud, and there are only 3 disciples in the outer hall. The 10 monks who could come did not even have less than 4 clouds on their chests. The least one is a female disciple, 4 clouds. Yekong knows, this must be the core disciple of the inner church. To the reader. Bricks. Friends of the Bricks will hand over the Bricks instruments. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Jian. Chapter 278. Monk Cao Guang. The others are 5 flowers and 6 flowers. Really, people have to die more than people. Yekong used to think that he was wearing a cloud. As soon as he walked in Surabaya city, he was very imposing and quite bullish. Now when I see these people, I know what a cow fork is. But these people are not the point. The most important thing is a white-haired monk who is surrounded by everyone, the golden clouds embroidered on the old man's chest. Wow, what a big piece. There are 9 ups and downs. Read a fairy board. Yun Fuzong's ancestor Yuan Yuan. How else would there be 9 clouds? Yekong guessed that right. The 10 monks stood in front of the door. All of the buddies and the gatekeeper were panicked, busy seeing the ceremony, and hurriedly notified the shopkeeper and the principal. Gao Yuanhang and the shopkeeper, who were busy inside, heard that Yun Fuzong's ancestors had all come, and were surprised that they rushed out. Mr. Cao Guangda arrived, and the Yi family firm was flattered. He was far from welcome, and he was really indifferent. Gao Yuanhang came out and hurriedly saluted. The old man Cao laughed. Anyway, do nt worry about these common gifts. Besides, I can't stand it. I am not a major monk. I only entered the UN infant 40 years ago. Now I am only on the 2nd floor of the UN infant. Yes. Generally monks are reluctant to talk about their own state of cultivation. The low state of things tells a joke, and the high state does not want others to know their true strength. So the monks generally have an attitude. You can see that I am for you. You can't see that I won't tell you. Even if I tell you, I am vague at best. Tell people that detailed. This Cao Guang unreservedly stated his cultivation behavior, but it made many people in the Yi family firm feel that he was friendly and approachable. Gao Yuanhang quickly laughed. You Cao Guang, you are welcome. Although I am shallow, but I also know that the more difficult the cultivation of the immortal, the more quickly you break through the 2nd floor in 40 years, according to the photo. In this way, as long as 200 years, we can break through the meta-infancy. Cao Guang laughed. Master Gao, you're so shrewd, you are a businessman doing business. Yekong was funny for a while. Gao Yuanhang, haven't you learned math? How is this account calculated? The old man entered the Yuanying period 40 years ago, and once he entered, he was on the 1st floor. Now he is the 2nd floor of Yuanying, which means that he has only been promoted 40 years. Even if aside from the bottlenecks and the difficulty of cultivation, it will take Cao Guang 400 years to break through the infancy. The most depressing thing is that everyone in the audience thinks that Gao Yuanhang's calculation is very accurate. Cao Guang's old guy has lived for hundreds of years. This account is not clear. Well, all people without culture, primary school mathematics. I didn't learn well, so I came out and installed X. It was so cloudy. I was given a cloud by such a big cultural talent. A cup, definitely a cup. Dare to love this boy for a long time, he is jealous of others than him. Of course, Yekong dare not speak up. He didn't want to provoke the ancestor of Yuanying, besides that Cao Guang is still his ancestor now. Although he didn't say it, the expression on his face was undoubted. The kind of contempt and smirk was seen clearly by a young handsome male monk with 5 golden clouds embroidered behind him. What are you laughing at? The young male monk was really arrogant, yelling at Yekong. Damn, even more arrogant than me. If it weren't for Cao Guang's presence, I would make you cry. This senior, which one of your eyes laughed when you saw it? Your elders are all here. Is it because you look at the undergraduate as inferior, and you want to bully me for nothing? Yekong coldly said. A dispute here immediately drew the previous person back, and the handsome male monk sneered. Yun Fuzong never bullies casual practice, but if he encounters impoliteness, we still have to learn 1 or 2. Yekong haha laughed. I don't understand etiquette. Is it because I don't understand etiquette? I saw you coming and took the initiative to make way for you to advance. I originally wanted to talk to Gao, but I didn't want to say anything. It doesn't matter who comes first, and it's inexplicable to say that others don't understand manners. Yekong felt his grievances after flicking his sleeves. He said that Cao Guang was a bit embarrassed, because he also saw that this black-faced minor repair came first. It is because of themselves that they have delayed others, making them speechless for a long time. This little friend is indeed our rudeness. Come, please invite me first. Cao Guang raised his hand with a smile and asked Yekong to go ahead. Cao Guang's behavior immediately attracted the young handsome man. He strode in front of Yekong and turned back. Grandpa, did he laugh at you just now? Oh, Cao Guang froze suddenly. In general, a monk Yuan is still very good at nurturing. He has lived for hundreds of years, and many things have been seen through. Like the previous Shi Dingfeng, it is still very polite on the surface. If it is not a strong relationship, he will not shoot at juniors. So Cao Guang made Yekong go first, but if the little monk was to ridicule him, or to sneer in public, this would make them very annoyed. If he didn't do anything, he would lose face. A Yuanying monk was sneered in public by a gas-repairing minor repair, and there was no response at all. This is what any Yuanying monk can't stand. Seeing that Cao Guang's face changed, Gao Yuanhang knew it was not good. He hated this refining gas repair. You are really too bold. Cao Guang is not only the ancestor of Yuanying, but also the head ancestor of Yun Fuzong. Even if he kills you, no one will question you. Gao Yuanhang wanted to help Yekong to say a few words, but hesitated, but he didn't dare. However, Yekong didn't need anyone to help him speak, and smiled, and said, Master Brother Cao, you must be advanced and your magic weapon must be powerful. What do you think I can do to laugh at you? Seeing minor repairs as inferior, I have nothing to do and want to bully me in public. Cao Guang thinks about it too. What this little monk should do to laugh at himself must be his grandson, self-assured Yun Fuzong. Junfen, don't let it go. Cao Guang gave a cold drink, and the young monk reluctantly let it go. Then Cao Guang raised his hand to Yekong again and said, Xiaoxiu, you come first, you please first. Cao Guang's ancestors are really high-spirited, and the grandfather is selfless. He is a model of our generation, a model. Yekong haha smiled, and did not give way, walked in. He walked to the male monk and hummed intentionally. Mind, boy, it turns out that you are Yun Fuzong's most powerful disciple. I do think so. Although he is handsome, you are a little bit worse than Benjiu. Yekong walked in, and the guy who greeted him stuck his tongue out, and quickly followed. This kid is really crazy. Yuan Ying's ancestor asked him to come in, and he really did. He didn't give up. Don't you know how to write the dead words? The man has a heart in his mind, but he forgot the important link, which caused Yekong a little trouble. To the reader. Tell everyone good news. This book has a group number 418748009. Welcome all friends to join and explore the way of ascension. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Jian Yi. Chapter 279. High-profile entry in 1978. Senior, didn't you just say you wouldn't participate in this auction? The man couldn't help but sneer at this arrogant black boy. I'm not afraid that you're playing tricky. Since Yun Fuzong's ancestors are not afraid, then I will come in. Hazizi went straight to the auction site. Coward. The man despised the boy for a moment, and asked again, Senior, you are all very comfortable with Master Cao Guangda, presumably the senior is also from the high school. That's for sure. Yekong wasn't humble. He is indeed from the high school, Yun Fuzong. Oh, the man nodded. No wonder the black guy was so arrogant. They were walking in front, and Cao Guang and others were talking in a low voice. Cao Junfen said, Grandpa, he just laughed at you just now. Cao Guang whispered, you didn't see the black kid standing in front of me, and you still talked about the answer. After letting his grandson think for a moment, Cao Guanja then said, General Gas Refining, standing in front of me shivered and didn't dare to lift my head. Do you think this person has a trace of fear? No. So in the future, if you want to walk the rivers and lakes, you must learn to look at people. Such an arrogant person must have him. The reason for the arrogance is either that there is a high school behind him or that there is an extremely powerful master. Oh, that's the way it is. Cao Junfan looked at the black egg walking ahead, and had a different meaning in his eyes. Cao Guang then said, I'm not afraid of him. Even if the core disciples of Ling Yaoshan come, I won't be afraid of anything. You just need to know that it won't be long before Kangnan will be troubled. In this period, don't it has affected unity among the majors? Cao Junfan nodded and asked, Grandpa, I also see that something is wrong. The Yujia firm now doubles the magic charms it purchases from our Yunfuzang, but, I don't know what will happen. Cao Guang shook his head and smiled, I don't know the specifics. I will know when the time comes. You should try to improve your strength as much as possible. Don't keep tangled with that sister Zhang. Cao Junfan was depressed, Grandpa, I didn't pester her, just, and she is too much, she. Stop talking nonsense. Cao Guang gave a cold drink and interrupted his grandson. He couldn't help his own daughter, but there were some things he couldn't say to outsiders, and it was humiliating to spread it out. When Yekong walked into the auction hall, he found that the place was quite large, just like a small theater, and many monks had already sat down. What leaves Yekong wondering is that, except for a few powerful monks who apparently seem overbearing, the other monks are wearing a black cloak that covers the whole body, and once the black cloak is worn, it makes other people's astronomy unusable. People don't see repair. Man, why do most monks wear cloaks? Yekong looked for the man in a backward position, puzzled. Not good, all forgotten by your arrogant kid. The man fought a cold war, and said embarrassedly, Senior, I forgot. Generally monks below Jidan must bring a black cloak before entering the door. This black cloak can not only cover the face, but also can't be seen. Xiu Wei, even if you take something of value, others do nt know who they are, so you do nt dare to easily rob them. As soon as Yekong heard it, he was furious. Damn, are you the ancestor of Yuanying? I do nt wear a black cloak for a gas repairing minor repair, isn't it that those high-level monks rob me? Dude bowed his head and said, how crazy you are, I thought you were not afraid of death. I'll get it for you now. The man wanted to escape after he said it. Come back, Yekong whispered. His ancestors were stingy, and now it's not a sign that they are afraid to go to get the black cloak. That will die faster. Now that everyone has seen themselves just now, let's just be a little high profile. It's a big deal that today I can't see good things anymore. Anyway, Lao Tzu's purpose is nothing more than snail grass. Go get some ice berries for Lao Tzu, let alone no, I know you guys are more. My buddy knows that he was wrong today. This little mistake is likely to cause this little monk to kill himself. So I didn't ask much, didn't ask for a spirit stone, and ran out directly. A small plate came from the top, which contained a few ice berries, and Yekong had never seen the fruit. Wow, Yekong took a big bite of ice berries in a tasteless manner, and the juice was all on his hands, and the man quickly brought the towel again. The other monks were attracted to the scene and turned around to see. Even the ancestor of Yuanying is just a cup of spiritual tea. How can this kid be so arrogant? The most important thing is that the Yi family's guys still cooperate so much that he is regarded as the ancestor. Look, Cao Guan called Cao Junfan, and stared at Yekong again with his eyes. The meaning is self-evident, let me say, this kid is not a small one. If it is an ordinary person, even the ancestors of Jidan have no guts here. Admire. Yeah, we really don't see that this kid has such a background. A group of disciples and grandchildren hurriedly smacked their farts. The other monks who participated in the auction also talked to each other. Isn't this Hei someone from the Yi family? You see, as soon as the buddy left, Mr. Gao nodded and went. I look like, otherwise, how could a little monk on the 7th floor who has been refining gas be so treated? You see, even Yun Fuzong's ancestor is very awesome to him. Pay attention to the eyes of Cao Guang and others. Maybe it's a disciple of some fairy from above. Yes, Ye Kong, an outsider disciple who has just joined Yun Fuzong, has been regarded as a disciple of the fairy of the upper world. All of them look at him with awe and jealousy. NND, this guy is so dark, it can also be fancy by the fairy of the upper world, why no one fancy me? Ye Kong behaved this way, naturally no one dared to mess with him. Even if he took valuable things, no one would rob him. But among the many monks, one looked at Ye Kong coldly through the eyes on the cloak. Huh, boy, I didn't expect to see you here. No matter what you are doing, you are dead. Man is gone, and Gao Yuanhang is here. I want to know the purpose of my visit with my toes. I just want to ask another 3,000 years of Yunwuzai, and ask about the boy's teacher's door. If it is true and false. Now even countless readers of Gao Yuanhang doubt this. The kid is an apprentice to the fairy. Unfortunately, Gao Yuanhang failed to achieve both of his goals. Ye Kong has no shortage of spirits now, and will not sell Yunwuzai. As for the division door, he dare not say it. No matter how helpless Gao Yuanhang was, the auction began. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Jian Yi. Chapter 280. At the 279 auction. Thank you friends for participating in this Yujia business auction. This time there will be Yun Fuzong's father, Cao Guangda, the ancestor of the infant. To make this shop flourish, an old man in grey clothes stood on the auction table. After introducing the sound, Cao Guang said, at the same time, other monks are also welcome. The Yi family firm will definitely give you all kinds of treasures for auction. I hope everyone can take the treasures they want. After the old man in the grey clothes talked, he started to introduce the rules. Everyone knows the rules of the auction, but there are new Taoists here. I will repeat it. When the old man in the grey clothing said this, he looked at Ye Kong obviously, which meant that I gave him a lot of face, which is equivalent to introducing you specifically. Ye Kong is very indifferent. Although we have not participated in auctions on the earth, we have watched them on TV. Doesn't it matter who has the highest price? So the old man in grey clothes sent a flattering smile. Ye Kong didn't even care about it, and continued a big mouthful. Well, this iceberry tastes really good. Alas, I used to smoke and cool. I didn't expect to come to Kangnan and eat a fruit to cool X. After introducing the rules, the grey-clad old man motioned to the guy to bring a brocade box, saying, the first item in this auction is a top-notch magic weapon, relying on the sky sword. It is easy to use the Millennium Cold Iron. The master of the family spent 981 days to train it. This object can be large or small, with amazing power, and its sharpness is extremely good. It is the best weapon for walking and fighting against people. The reserve price is 1,000 spirit stones. 1001. 1002. I have 2,000. Ye Kong is depressed. What kind of broken swords and top-quality instruments have no additional functions, can be large or small? Sun Immortal, can I make the sword of the lower grade Fijian bigger or smaller, which is a function of Mao? This flying sword can also sell 2,000 spirit stones. It seems that there is no lack of injustice in Xianxian world. However, the head of injustice is only a few, and no one will add it to the 2000 spirit stones. Then, the old man in grey clothing took out a turquoise flying sword weapon, and said, "The top quality weapon by blood sword is made from the best green spirit jade. It is extremely hard, and it is not a problem to open the mountain to split gold. When refining, it is also added to the inner dan of the top grade beast fire rhino, so when used, it will have a strong fire attribute attack. More than 30% of the power. This flying sword is much more powerful than the previous Yaishan sword. It has a fire attack and a fire bonus. So when the sword was taken out, many customers in black cloaks rushed to compete. However, no matter how good the magic weapon is, it doesn't have much appeal to the ancestors of Jadan. If it is more than Jadan, it is the magic weapon. Cannot see, there are a lot of rich low-level monks. This blue blood sword actually sold a high price of 4,800 lakhs. Thinking about the average Chinese artifact, there are also hundreds of spirit stones. Yekong feels that 4.8 is still a little high. Of course, even if it's not high, he won't buy it. He was an outsider disciple of Yun Fuzong, and took out a top-notch instrument, which was not appropriate. If it is in danger, Jing Guangzi, water fire gourd, it will far exceed these instruments. Then the grey-clad old man took out a few more instruments and shot them. With his mouth that was bragging and not drafting, these instruments were sold at a high price that exceeded their value. Yekong couldn't help but sneered at Gao Yuanhang. It was shameless. The adulterer was really shameless, so he deceived the spiritual stone of the lower cultivator. Like Yekong, those ancestors who did not wear capes were not interested in the magic weapon. Yun Fuzong and others were silent, watching the stage one by one as if they were watching a movie. It wasn't until the old man in grey clothing took out another treasure of natural talents, and Yun Fuzong and others shot it. Purple jasmine bamboo. A piece of high-quality bamboo, a piece of purple jasmine bamboo. The old man in grey clothes took out a piece of fine purple bamboo in a brocade box. The number of purple arrow bamboo in the cultivation world is very low, and the millennium purple arrow bamboo is even more rare. This section of purple arrow bamboo was encountered by my Yi family exploration unit and went into the flood and barren miles. After the war with a mutant top-grade spirit beast, then I ventured to get this little one. Seeing this section of purple arrow bamboo has been at least 1,500 years old, it is very suitable for making rune pens. Of course, if this section of purple arrow bamboo is mixed in the magic weapon of refining equipment, it also has the effect of increasing the power of the magic weapon. This section of purple arrow bamboo has a base price of 3,000 spirit stones, and the bidding now starts. Although Yekong didn't know what this purple arrow bamboo was, but when the old man in grey clothes said it, he also knew that this was the real good thing. As soon as the grey-clad old man reported the reserve price, those old ancestors who had never spoken immediately spoke. 3,005. 4,000. 5,000. Good things are good things. The prices soared in the blink of an eye. Yekong couldn't help but be sighed. He had to sell them for 3,500 years, and his 5,000-year-old Yunwuzai sold only 6,000, and his 1,500 years was 5,000. What makes Yekong jealous is that this short section of purple arrow bamboo is so expensive. If a whole purple arrow bamboo is moved in, how many spirits will it sell? When Ye was defamated on an empty stomach, Yun Fuzong Cao Guang finally spoke. The old man came here today to buy this bamboo for my grandson to make a psychic rune pen, so the old man didn't say much. The price is 15,000 spirit stones. If a Taoist friend still comes out higher, the old man immediately lifts his leg and walks away, giving the bamboo to the high-priced person. To be honest, Cao Guang's playing at the auction was a bit out of order. All monks at the scene have the highest level for him, and he has the most people. If you say this, do others dare to argue with you? An ancestor of Yuanying and a master monk of Yun Fuzong, come here for this purple arrow bamboo, or make a charm pen for his grandson, Is anyone still arguing? Impatient of life? I didn't hear him say, if you can't buy it right away. You can understand it as he doesn't want to return to the mountains, or he can take someone outside to wait to rob you. He said that he immediately calmed down, and no one dared to raise the price again. It wasn't fun to offend an old ancestor, not to mention that this old ancestor was still a big family member. Cao Guang's move, although the Yi family firm and others were unhappy, they didn't say anything. After all, Surabaya city is still the site of Yunfuzong. Moreover, the price of Cao Guang is very fair. Even if everyone bids, it may not be more than 15,000 spirit stones. Of course, although Yekong also wants to get this purple arrow bamboo and put it in the soil, see if it can quickly become a complete purple arrow bamboo. But there aren't many spirit stones in Yes' official pocket, not to mention that it is to cultivate a complete purple arrow bamboo, and Yekong can't think of any available. So Yekong had to give up. To the reader. Tell everyone good news. This book has a group number 418748009. Welcome all friends to join and explore the way of ascension. Advanced group, each person sends a buddy. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 281. In the 1980 auction. This auction can be traded in person. Cao Guang took a storage ring, took a small black bag, and let Cao Junfan exchange it for purple arrow bamboo. In fact, this has nothing to do with Yekong, but Cao Junfan took the purple arrow bamboo down, and that sassy bag was full of faces, which made Yekong unhappy. When Cao Junfan returns to his seat and talks with the nuns around him, it makes the boss of Yekong Gli even more unhappy. Cao Junfan said, 10,000 Wulingshi, I bought this one. If I change to other martial arts, how can I have such strength? The nun shouted, yeah, this purple arrow bamboo is really expensive, let me see it. Cao Junfan handed the purple arrow bamboo to the female disciple, and looked at Yekong in a seemingly non-existent way, saying, it's not like some people, put up a big spectrum, and in the end, you can't afford anything, even the bid dare. The female disciple laughed, so what is he doing here? Certainly come to see and see, go back and brag with unfamiliar relatives and friends. Cao Junfan kept watching Yekong, and when he heard Grandpa said, he also noticed the black-faced boy. But then, he heard Yekong ask Gao Yuanhang for a few mentally handicapped questions. The one that most despised him was that the boy didn't even know Zongpan Lingxi. When he went up to get the spirit stone to change the purple arrow bamboo, he heard him whispering to the principal, 15,000 spirit stones, why is there only such a small bag? When the principal answered, he suddenly realized, oh, it was inside precious spirit stone. What disciple? The disciple does not even know Zongpan Lingxi. Cao Junfan thought of this, and couldn't help but make a sarcasm. The villain wins. Yekong bit the ice berry again and said to Gao Yuanhang, who was not far away, Master Gao, it's a pity. Gao Yuanhang didn't know what Yekong was going to say, wondering, when is it a pity? Yekong laughed, it's a pity you only have a purple arrow bamboo. If there is a pair, I will buy it back and use it as chopsticks. Everyone in the hall couldn't help but stun. Who is this boy? The tone is scary. Buy the purple arrow bamboo of San Juan Lingxi and use it as chopsticks? Cao Junfan snorted coldly, boy, just blow it. When the auction is over, you won't make a price at once, see how ironic you are. Let Cao Junfan say that, after the grey-clad old man finished shooting the last item, the blackbird still did not raise his hand once. Gao Yuanhang was also very depressed. This guy didn't buy or sell anything, but Iceberry gave him a lot of food. Could he have eaten it specially? Yekong himself was also depressed, and the wormwood he wanted never appeared. And the auction instruments can't get into his eyes. As for the treasures, many of them have not even heard of their names. What do you buy? Well, all the items we are going to shoot today have been auctioned off, said the old man in grey clothing. Below is the exchange time for monks. If you have any magical treasures that you need to auction, you can get them up. These costs, if there is a request for exchange of goods or purchase information, you can also publish it for free. Yahalo Road, this is nice. Hurrying to learn other monks, take out the note to post the buying information, and throw it to the grey-clad old man on the stage. For a while, the golden light flickered in front of the old man in grey. After a while, more than 20 notes were lined up. Information 1, a monk hopes that the medium-level earth beast of the above grades will be replaced with the same level of spiritual wood. The quantity can be discussed. The monks obviously did not, or did not want to change. A silence. It doesn't seem, said the old man in grey clothing, taking out another piece of magical charm. Information 2, a monk buys the ink beast material of spirit beast. Yekong was startled. Mother, so coincidental? Does anyone know that I have Laozi? However, Ren Yekong couldn't see how famous he was. I do nt know anyone who does nt wear a cape, who knows who sent the message just now. Information 5. 800 spirits require 10 strains of sage. No one responded to the first few messages. Yekong's piece of information was answered. I know where there are millennial sages, but the location is inconvenient. I will bring 10 plants 10 days later. I wonder if it is possible, said a monk wearing a cloak. The grey-clad old man got Yekong's wink and said busily, yes, after 10 days, you can just give the sagebrush to the store counter. The wormwood is in place, and the leaves are loose, and it is about to search the crowd for those who want to buy mochi skin, and the old man in grey clothing has released another heavyweight news. 6th, a lot of information on Kangnan fanatic Yekong's images and places of appearance are sold. The price of each copy is only 3 spirits, providing Yekong's activities within 3 days. The information is absolutely reliable. As soon as the news came out, some monks in the audience called out, "Give me a copy." Then someone shouted, "I want one too." Afterwards, a monk in a cape walked out, collecting spirit stones one by one, and sending jade cards. Provide me the location of the event in 3 days. Yekong was depressed for a while, and he also paid 3 spirits and bought one. If there is something about his safety inside, he will definitely follow this monk to see where he is sacred. However, Yekong took a look into Yuzhan and suddenly left. What is recorded in it are all the old news about him in Angguo. What have he done, what instruments have he used, and what are his personality characteristics? Finally, experts from the Kangnan mainland analyzed more than 10 live-catching Yekong method. Of course, there are also the latest news, but these news are legends. For example, according to reliable news, half a month ago, a treasure hunter went to the floodland and encountered a wild man wearing bark in the floodland, looking at its facial features, and leaves. The air similarity reached 8 points and the arrogance was 9 points. Experts do not think that it is possible for Yekong to escape into the flood and become a savage. Most of the news is not reliable, but there is a relatively accurate analysis. The dog expert X believes that according to the analysis of the last exact location where Yekong appeared, Wukong River, Yekong is likely to hide in Wu country or is still in the country. At the same time, X also suggested that looking for someone is worse than finding a dragon. Yekong is likely to be easy in the future, it will be very difficult to find anonymity. So it may be better to set up a small induction matrix in the remote places where Yekong may appear. As long as Yekong releases the water dragon, with the strong spiritual power and spiritual knowledge of the water dragon, the induction horsepower is inevitable. The position of Yekong can be sensed to determine its location. Yekong was shocked to see that there were clever people in his ferry. There are also smart people in this brick house called beasts. There are no white flowers in these 3 spirit stones. In the future, I will only be careful, more careful, low-key, and low-key. Outside, Dao can never be released. After the sale of jade and Cambodia, the monks put out the items for auction there. The monks have been searching and fighting outside all the year round. There are also many good things. All the natural treasures, the materials for refining magic, and the inner beasts of the spirit beasts are all good things, but Yekong can't use them. But when a monk took out a large plate of bright transparent silk thread, Yekong was still attracted attention.